Welcome back to Urban X TV. I'm back. I'm Malcolm. I have the Black Dot with me, and we also have a special guest with us today. We tried to get this interview done last year, but a whole bunch of stuff happened. But we finally got you. We have Koereyelle, the serial entrepreneur, CEO, and founder of the WERK University. She was also featured as one of our Urban Xcellence Stories of the week very early on last year, and we finally got her here with us. So thank you for joining us. And I want to start off by, first of all, thanking you for all that you do, because I'm been keeping up on you with social media and things like that, and all that you do for the community and how you're trying to empower women, Black women. And I definitely appreciate it. So I want to get your story from the beginning. Tell us about you.
Oh, okay. I don't know if we got time for all that, but I'll give y'all like the highlights. First of all, thank you so much for having me. We were supposed to do it a while ago, but I believe in like divine timing. And so I know that this is everything happens at the right time. So I'm just excited to be here. But I am Koereyelle. I started my career as a classroom teacher. I taught second and third grade before realizing that God had something more for me than, what I was kind of confined to within the four walls of that classroom. The crazy thing is, I am still very much so an educator. As you mentioned, I'm the founder of WERK University. So what I've been able to do really is figure out how to remix and flip my education degrees into and combining it with my passion, which is helping and sharing success secrets with Black women. And I've really just turned that into a brand that pays me much more than that $32,000 teaching salary that I was bringing in as a classroom teacher. So I've started several businesses. I have launched several brands over the years. The first one was called the Single Wives Club way back in 2012. After I got out of an abusive relationship, I was engaged to be married and realized that I was making the same mistake that so many other single women made, which was just focusing on the wedding and the ring and not really knowing what it meant to be a wife. And so I started a business, just really didn't even know I was starting a business at the time, really just started like a support group in my living room, trying to figure out like how I got myself in that mess. How can I avoid anything like that in the future? And that was like the brand that put me on the map and really allowed me the platform to be able to branch off and do all of the other things that I do now. So since 2012, I have transitioned from the Single Wives Club to hosting women empowerment conferences and events here in Atlanta. And at the end of 2019, I decided that I was retiring from empowerment so that I could focus on teaching Black women how to get paid. And that's where WERK University comes in. It's all about helping Black women by giving them the blueprint to turn the skills that they have already into new streams of income. So I am very, very passionate about not just helping women, but being unapologetic in the fact that I am here for Black women. I also have a nonprofit called For the Culture Foundation that advocates for all things Black. And I'm just excited to be here and share whatever I can with someone who may need it.
Amazing. Go ahead, Malcolm.
So I wanted to know where you got the idea for the WERK University from. It seems like, because like you said, your background as a school teacher, so I wanted to know like what brought that about.
So for 7 years, I was like in the empowerment industry where it was really all about just, and I still consider myself to be, somewhat empowering, but I think that empowerment is just like a feel good, rainbows and butterflies, everything's gonna be okay type of thing. And so I was having these annual conferences. They were super successful. People would always talk about how it was, it's the best weekend ever. I feel so motivated, I can do everything. And then the next year they would come back saying the same thing that they said the year prior. They weren't really going home and doing the work. And so I realized that whether it was in 2012 with the Single Wives Club or in 2017 with Workplace Slave Weekend, the big problem, even though my goal of empowerment was the same throughout, the big problem that all of them were experiencing was not having any money. They were living paycheck to paycheck. So it's like, you can be empowered, you can feel good for this weekend, but if you go home and you still got to decide whether I'm going to invest in a business or pay my bills, or whether I'm going to put gas in my car or do something that can really build a bit. It's like, it's real hard for you to manage the two. And so WERK University was literally me saying, I'm sick and tired of bringing these women here to Atlanta, getting them excited, but not really giving them the blueprint. So WERK University is literally, it's like an online trade school. And I got to explain that because sometimes when I say online trade school, people think I'm talking about like Forex or stock markets, and it's not that at all. Trade in the sense of getting back to, and you all talk about this all the time, getting back to picking up those trades, developing your skills, realizing that everything is not necessarily tied to a degree. No shade to the degrees. I, have definitely done the work, did my time, got the student loans to prove it, but that's not everything. Like, that's not the end all be all. And for a lot of people, myself included, we think that if we just go get another degree, we're going to make more money. Our problems are going to be solved if we just go back and get another degree. And I literally had $0 in student loan debt out of college. I took my full self to get a master's degree and got $89,000 in student debt for a master's degree that ended up giving me like a $400 raise. So I am not, being shady when I say any of these things. It came from me, my personal experience of knowing that there were things inside of me that I had back then before I had that master's degree that I'm using right now to make multiple six figures that is not dependent on, a degree or any of those things that people feel like they have to have. So WERK University is all about showing you that you already got the skills to pay the bills, as I like to say. You already have the experience and the expertise to create new streams of income. So that's what it's all about.
You speak about helping women, which I think is an amazing thing. What are some of the challenges that you come across? Because it's one thing, like you said, to feel good, but then there's a whole roadmap of work. And when you put the onus on them to do the work, what are some of the challenges that you're facing in trying to motivate, and not just motivate, but get people to do the actual work?
So I think that confidence is a big part of it. A lot of times, I feel like Black people, we're late to the party. Like, we have not had access to different resources that are available. We have not been able to see what's possible. And so even for me, if somebody would have told me back then when I was a classroom teacher, you already have what it takes to be able to do X, Y, and Z, it just would have been a game changer for me. So my whole thing is just showing them different ways that they can literally use what they already have and get paid from it. So I think confidence is a big part of it. Access to resources is a big part of it. And then intrinsic motivation is a huge part of it, because I personally have like always had a hustle, and that's not a hustle spirit, I should say. And that's not something you can always teach somebody, like you either got it or you don't. And I cannot make you do the work. Like, I have people who enroll in WERK University and then they end up, I don't want to say dropping out, but they end up, going on and doing their own thing. And it's like, because they say, well, I didn't really have time to, work through the content or the resources, or I didn't really, and it's like, if you do the work, this will work, but you have to be willing to do your part. I literally have like a library that my students have access to with probably 100 hours worth of content, resources that I personally have created, not stuff that I read about, not stuff that I found on Google, like literally the things that I have used myself in my business that I know works. And it might not work for you the exact same way it worked for me, but if you take it and apply it to your own situation, you're going to get something out of it. But if you don't want to do that, if you're not motivated to do that, if you can look at your bank account and that's not all the motivation that you need to get started, then there's only so much that I or anybody else can do for you. So I definitely think, just knowing what's possible is part of it, because a lot of times the people who I come across, we're like the first to do it first. Nobody in our families were necessarily successful entrepreneurs. I come from a family of business owners, so I never saw that it was possible. So my whole goal is just to be that source of inspiration of showing you this is where I came from. And I'm not even there yet. Like, I'm still, grinding to get where I want to go, but it's possible if you just do the work.
So I wanted to comment on something you said. You talked about how you were in the empowerment business, and these women are leaving the business feeling motivated, but they're coming back next year. And that's something I feel like a lot of people, including myself, I've gone through, like with, reading books, like every single book, like I feel great after the book. And then sometimes I have to get another hit of motivation, it feels like. So the fact that you were even cognizant and honest enough to go, all right, yes, this is great that they're motivated, but I do want to give them practical help. I think is like amazing, because a lot of people would rather like just stay in that field, especially if it's, you know, being successful, like it's making them money. So they just, you know, I'm gonna give them motivation every single year, and that's all I will do.
Hope
But
of
I
me.
wanted to ask you, what were some of the growing pains in creating, I guess, the curriculum for the WERK University?
So, so honestly, over the last probably since like 2013, I've been in the space of like online education where I've been creating webinars and teaching courses. And as I've grown professionally, as my business has grown, as I've done different things in my business, I've been creating these courses. So WERK University's content is literally my progression over the years. So you have access to this entire library, which is now the curriculum. And I'm not the only expert. Like, I know my strengths and I stay in my lane. So aside from the courses that I've created, one of the things that my students get every single month, we have what's called like a trade school training. We actually have one tonight, but it's me bringing in an expert in different industries, showing you how you can make income in those industries. So whether you're interested in fashion is not my thing. Whether you're interested in fashion or trucking, the transportation industry, or tonight we're talking about vending machines. Like, there's literally one of the things that I feel like is one of my biggest assets. Like I said, I know my strengths. I have a network that is crazy. So I might not be able to teach you about starting a beauty business, but I can connect with someone who can and bring them, you know, to my platform and share them with my people. So you're not just getting to hear from me, you're getting to hear from other leaders in different industries who have been successful in those industries and showing you how you can do it too. I can't necessarily say that I've had a challenge. I thought in the, you know, initially before I came up with the idea to bring in other experts, my challenge was, I don't know everything. And I don't want these women to I don't even want to pretend like I know everything. Like, if I don't know about it, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to pretend, because y'all not gonna come looking for me that I've steered you the wrong way. That's just doing a disservice. So that was one of the challenges that I had initially, but I've kind of filled in that gap by bringing in other people so that they can share, you know, their success secrets, what's worked for them, and hopefully save these women some time, some stress, and, you know, just help them make some money.
Got it.
And this may sound like an off-base question, but I think everything is everything. Do you find that the women who are happy in their home life are the ones who are able to thrive more, or are you being drawn in by women who need to get other things together so that they really can excel in these fields, if that makes any sense?
It definitely makes sense. And with the Single Wives Club, so that was, again, like the first business that I started, and it was probably the most challenging. I got the most pushback in that business because it was all about, you know, people think Single Wives Club. First of all, they didn't have any clue what that even meant, because it was literally a term that I made up. But it was really all about single women preparing to become wives. And from the outside looking in, a lot of people assumed that it was either bitter single women that were just like bashing men, or on the other side, it was women who were just desperate to get a man. And my whole thing was always becoming a match for the mate that you want to attract. So that means if you want healthy, happy relationship, you have to be healthy, happy, single by yourself. You got to get yourself together before you can even go out into the world and expect anything good to come to you. So I've always, from the very beginning, even before I had the business, when I was reading all the self-help books and going to therapy and doing all of the personal development things, realized that you are the point of attraction for things to literally, they're going to find you based on what you put out there. So you can't have, like, everything has to be in alignment. And a part of what we do inside of WERK University, I talk a lot about mindset and manifestation, because I can literally give you the blueprint. Like, I can give you the blueprint to build a successful business, but if you don't have the right mindset to be able to sustain it, then we're both wasting our time. So I truly believe a big part of success, period, is 360. It's all the way around. Like, I don't want to have a money-making business and then I don't have no man at the house. Like that's not my idea of success. I don't want to look good on paper, but then I'm miserable when I lay down at night, because I'm really not happy with the life that I've created. That is not success for me. So a big part of it is just encouraging them to first of all define what success means for them, because a lot of times we are on Instagram or based on what our mama said, we're deciding what success is going to be based on somebody else's life. So just deciding what that is and then figuring out how to be a point of attraction for that, and understanding that you literally are attracting every single thing that you're experiencing. So yes, that's not an off-base question. That all of that goes together. Like you can't talk about success and business and making money without talking about the mindset and who you are internally, because that's going to attract, all of your external experiences.
Okay.
So I've seen on your Instagram, like you've been in a lot of these big name publications. Did you get any pushback because your main audience is Black women? Like, because I know when a lot of people, they want to start out with, Black people in mind, but sometimes when they get big, they kind of veer off because that's where the money is at. But you have been steadfast. I saw you today tweeting about
you see
Black
it?
love. You know what I mean?
They've been going, it's been a rough day. Okay. They've been going off on me today. And it's funny that you say that, because at the very beginning, when I was running the Single Wives Club, I had a mentor or coach that told me, I've always been like, I'm here for Black women, and that's what it is. But I did have people at the very beginning trying to convince me that I was going to box myself in or miss out on opportunities if I, vocalize the fact that I was for Black women. They would always try to tell me, well, you can create programs that are for Black women, but you don't really have to tell other people. You don't have to promote that. And that just didn't sit right with me. However, I never really vocalized it in the way that I have this year. I think 2020, it's made you choose a side, and I am so unapologetic about the side that I have chosen. Today, literally my post that I didn't even think it was gonna go crazy like it did, but I am just so shocked every time someone tries to turn a Black love, or it's like the Black Lives Matter thing turning into All Lives Matter. Me promoting and celebrating and acknowledging and honoring a Black woman and a Black man has nothing to do with anybody. I'm not bashing anybody else. So I think that because I am kind of in control of my business, I don't rely on a corporation to write me a check. I don't rely on an investor, to pay me. I'm not thinking about other people's comforts. Like I am unapologetically here for our community because I think so many other people are afraid to do it. Now, luckily, a lot, I feel like I've kind of carved out my own lane, and I've made a name for myself before I started shouting from the rooftops, Black, all Black, everything. But I've gotten a lot of those media, outlets and all of those things. A lot of those write-ups have come from people who are connected to me in some way, so they know me. So they know that, they know who I am, they know what I stand for. And, if they have a problem with it, they just wouldn't come to me, and I wouldn't know, I wouldn't know anything different. So I honestly I don't care about that. Like, just to be honest, I'm not like, I'm like, one day it's going to pay off for me. One day I am just going to be known as the Blackity Black business boss that's just unapologetic. And my inspiration, one of my inspirations that just kind of shows me that it's possible, is Issa Rae. It's like Issa has carved this lane out for herself. She does things in her own way, did it so well that people came, HBO came looking for her because of what she was already doing that caters to Black people. And even though she's on now, she still makes it a point for you to understand that she's rooting for everybody Black. So if I gotta miss out on a write-up or a sponsorship, like, that's small change compared to what I'm trying to do. So I don't know if that has, hindered me, because I feel like I'm still winning. Like, I don't know about the losses that I got because they just never called me. So
Got you.
Question. How important is networking? And I say that because you seem to have a lot of relationships you've built. And relationships are usually built on reputation. And, you know what I'm saying? Having some kind of ethics and integrity. How important is it for you to convey to your women, you know, the ethics and the integrity needed, and not be afraid to make a cold call? How many times have you been like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. You know what I mean? So explain some of that, because there's a lot of women who, you know, they ready to make the move, but then they cower when it's time to network and really put themselves out there, because you have to put yourself out there to some degree.
you know what, this is gonna probably shock you. Malcolm, we connected on Instagram, so you've probably seen me say this a million times, but I am actually an introvert. Like when it's time to turn it on, when I gotta do my thing, I can do it. But in my regular life, my comfort zone, I'm over here, you know, and I'm in the back row at the events. I'm paying attention, but I'm doing my own thing. I'm not working the room. And that is just me being 1,000% honest. The way that I have been able to build my network is by doing the work, literally. The reason that I feel like I have so many amazing relationships is because people see the work that I'm doing. I'm not out here trying to just meet people just to say that I know people. I'm not out here taking selfies with people to, you know, to say that I got relationships with people. The relationships that I have are real because they come from, they're organic, they're natural, and they come from people seeing me doing my thing, and they're like, yo, I like what you got going on. And so my advice, because a lot of times, you know, I always talk about how I'm an introvert and how I don't let that stop me. So I get a lot of other introverts that ask me, well, what do I need to do and how do I do it? And my thing is always, you know, it's like that Instagram quote that's like, work so hard that you don't have to introduce yourself. That's my motto. I am doing the work so that you're going to come talk to me because you've heard about the work that I'm doing versus, and that's not like I'm up here, I don't have to talk to people, but I'm uncomfortable. Like, just to be honest, I'm not walking in the room. I'm not cold calling that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. And luckily, what'd you say?
What's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
Okay, all right.
I am, yeah. So I again, I like to stay in my lane. I'm really, really good at the things that I do. You know, I do what I do and I do those things well. And I've been blessed because it's worked. That doesn't mean that, you know, I haven't had to step outside of my comfort zone. But again, what's worked best for me is networking at the events that I'm like invited to speak at, because it's like, once you see me on stage, then you want to talk to me versus me just being in the back of the room, you know, coming to give you a business card or something like that. So my advice is do the work and you won't have to, you know, worry about those awkward situations. Your work will speak for itself.
So I wanted to know two questions. So one, are you a solopreneur? Like, are you just by yourself or do you have a team? And two, you at the top of the interview, you mentioned a few different businesses, even a not-for-profit that you are involved in that you created. What's the process on getting those things launched? Because my pops and I, my stepmom, we always try to build upon what we have, and it takes a while. People think it just kind of happens, but they don't see what happens in the background. So I want to know, what's your process on trying to grow and 10X in your business?
So I am a solopreneur in the sense that I'm operations, I'm the creative team, I am the marketing, but I have admins. Okay. So the day-to-day tasks, I do have people assisting me, but that is very new. Like, I have to be honest in saying one of my personal biggest professional challenges has been like learning to delegate and not to do it all.
That's what we're facing. Yes.
It's so hard because it's like, I know how I want it to be done. And then I've taken the chance, hire people, and then I got to explain it a million times. So it's like, I could have done it a million times by the time I've explained it a million times. But I also know, as hard as it is, you can't scale your business if you are the only one working in your business. So I'm still not where I need to be, just to be honest. I just have people doing like small things that I can trust them with, but I'm still very much so like holding the reins of this thing. So I've always kind of had a team to help me create my vision, but I've never really had like a partner that's adding, you know, that it's our vision. And that might, I don't know what that means about me, but I know that the Libra in me, I am very assertive and I take fast action. So I'm not one, when I have an idea, if I have an idea on like these, the t-shirts and the stuff that I sent y'all, that was literally an idea that came to me on like a Sunday. And by Tuesday, the website was up and I was, you know, making sales and doing, I'm like, when I really decide that I'm going to do something, it's done. Like I'm doing it. I'm not waiting on anybody to tell me it's a good idea. I'm not waiting on anybody to help me figure it out. I'm getting it done. And I do think that that has been super beneficial for me in all of my businesses because, you know, I don't suffer from analysis paralysis. I might launch it imperfectly, but I'm gonna learn how to clean it up and fix it up and make it better. But I'm gonna put it out there. I'm at least gonna get some feedback. I'm at least gonna figure out what doesn't work so that I can figure out what does work. And I do have a lot going on. I didn't even mention the travel business. I have a whole travel agency.
We're gonna get.
I have a lot going on, but the thing that I think has kind of worked in my favor is that they've been like gradual launches. I didn't just jump out the gate doing a million things. So over the years, I've kind of created different things that I still have going right now. But the nonprofit honestly was one of those things where I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how to do it. And so that was one of those businesses that I did get help, that I did have somebody that helped me kind of get it set up. And I actually just posted this in my stories today, like the actual person who did it for me. So if that specifically is something that y'all are wanting to do, I have some people that I can plug y'all with. I'm the plug, okay? And I love being like, seriously, and I get nothing out of it. I just love being able to be like, I know somebody. I got somebody that can do that. So that's one thing that I don't like to pretend like I know stuff that I don't know. Right. That's not my thing, but I got people who do. So for the nonprofit specifically, that was something that somebody set up for me because that's one of those things that you don't want to do it wrong. It's too.
Yeah, you do it wrong. You got to start from the beginning.
Listen, it's too time consuming for you to be trying to figure that thing out on your own. So that's one of the things that I just know when to ask for help and, you know, let somebody do it for me.
Gotcha. So like you alluded to before, can you explain the travel business? Because for the people who watch our podcast, they've been seeing your ads running. And since you're here, you can give a longer ad.
I over the years, so I know at the very beginning when you said just share your story, I've kind of left this part out of how I even got from teaching to entrepreneurship. I told you a little bit about the relationship that I was in and how I was engaged in all of this stuff. And that relationship really was like the catalyst to everything else that I'm doing because it made me check myself really and figure out like, what are you doing? Why are you doing these things? And what do you really want out of life? And so I ended up quitting my job as a teacher, trying to move to Abu Dhabi to teach just because I was so ashamed of calling off this engagement. And in the meantime, I had like a real like come to Jesus meeting with myself where I decided like moving across the world is not really going to solve your problems. But I had already given up my teaching job here in Atlanta. So I literally was like in between work. So I ended up going to work as a bartender, went to bartending school, started working as a bartender. And that afforded me like the time, freedom to be able to build my businesses. So as I was like working as a bartender and having the terrible shifts and not really making the money, and also building the Single Wives Club, you know, building the brand, I went broke trying to, you know, pay for my personal expenses, build this business professionally, all of these things. And so I just started trying things like, how can I make money? Like I need money. I know this is the business that I am willing to sacrifice for, but it takes money to build. And so one of the things that I ended up doing was becoming a certified travel agent. It was something that I kind of already had experience doing. I was already like the friend that put together the trips for everybody anyway. So I was really trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing inside of WERK University, helping people figure out what are you already doing that people will pay you for. So that's what I did for myself. Travel was one of those things where it's like you already have this skill. Why not figure out how to monetize it? So I started that back in 2015. the hustler in me just did not want to nickel and dime planning like people's trips to Miami for the weekend. So I started doing these group trips. I'm like, if I could make $150 per person, I need 50 people. You know, I'm not about to go one person here, one person here, one person here. So I started putting together these group trips. It turned into, it had a life of its own. It was a brand called Busy at the Beach. And that evolved into me creating a certification course for other women who wanted to learn how to become travel agents. So I now own a travel agency where I have over 50 Black women who work under me as travel agents. And then I also have a travel agent certification training for women who want to learn how they can, you know, turn vacay into payday is how we say it, but how you can really get paid to plan travel for other people. So all of these things that I'm doing, even though it kind of seems like, well, where's the travel thing come in? Like, how is that related? It's literally been over the years, me just trying to figure out how I can turn the things I'm passionate in into, you know, a part of my brand.
Question.
Go ahead, Pop.
Oh, you want to act? You want to follow up with that, Malcolm?
No, go ahead.
The support from your significant other, because you seem very busy.
I was going in.
So what does it mean to have the support? And was that something you wasn't getting in your previous relationship where you felt hindered, that you wasn't able to shine, you wasn't able to grow, because you have this auric glow about you now that I see that tells me you're getting the support and the energy you need to fly?
Listen, I tell people, like, the biggest business decision you'll ever make is who you marry. The person you choose to be with is like, I learned it the hard way, like what the wrong choice can do to you, how literally like the relationship that you're in can mess up. If it's the wrong one, it can mess up everything. It can ruin everything around you. And so a lot of the things that I've done have been me being single and having all the time and the energy to just focus on myself. But since 2017, since I met my mans, having someone who came along and was just like adding fuel to my fire, that has literally been the biggest blessing. A lot of people ask, kind of like you were asking, how do you balance it all? Like, how are you doing all of this and you have, you know, a happy relationship? He gets me. And I really think it's because I spent all those single years getting really, really clear about what I wanted, and not just what I wanted in the sense of like the superficial stuff, but what I truly needed in order to thrive. And so having someone who really, truly lets me do my thing, supports me in doing my thing, gives me ideas for how I can do my thing better, that eliminates me having to balance anything, because it works out. He gives me grace. He understands. He is, you know, any of the jobs, whether it's him being the photographer, him, you know, selling t-shirts at the table for me, what he's down for the cause. And so when I say that is like the biggest blessing, because your man can be a hater. He can be somebody who doesn't want you doing better than him. Like all of that, it affects you, and it affects what you're able to produce. So absolutely 1,000%. I, you know, we got these shirts that say like, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. I know that I was doing it single, but I'm doing it worry-free and happy now that I have someone that just compliments all of my crazy, because I got a lot going on, but he doesn't try to put me in a box like a lot of other people would.
Yeah, that was dope, because that was the question I was gonna ask, actually. So speaking of, you said you had a mentor. Do you feel like mentorship has helped you like grow? Because right now, a lot of people are, when I see a lot of people try to start business, especially like later on, they don't have the hang of social media. It feels like you just get it. And I wanted to know, like, where did that come from? Or was that trial and error?
Everything has been trial and error. So
Right.
I've had what I call like silent mentors. People who mentor me but probably don't really know that they're my mentor. We don't have like an official mentor-mentee relationship, because again, I am a get it and go type of person. I get an idea and I go with it. I'm not waiting on a co-signer. I'm not waiting on approval from anybody. Like if I fall down, I'm gonna get myself up and figure out how to keep it moving. And I think that mindset hinders a lot of people, because I get so many DMs and emails and messages from people who are like, I need a mentor. Will you help me do X, Y, and Z? And it's like the time you spent sending me this message, you could have been, figuring it out. And so I have a really low tolerance. I know, like, I have military parents, so I know that this is where I get it from. But I have a really low tolerance for people who ask a million questions but aren't doing research. Like, I'm not spoon feeding you. I can't. I don't have the patience for it, because I'm not looking for that from anybody.
Right.
And I think that that's part of why I'm able to do the things that I do, because I'm going to figure it out. If I want to know it bad enough, nobody's going to stop me from getting the answer. And so, yes, I've had, again, like silent mentors or people I look up to. I have friends that are, super successful in their own lane and what they do, that I look to for, if I really need help and I got to ask them their advice on something, they'll help me out. But I've never had like an official relationship where every week, you're giving me an assignment and I'm coming back to you, because I got things to do. I'm trying to figure this thing out. Like, I'm working. If I run into a problem, then we can talk. But I just got to get it.
Got you. So I have another question. It's kind of doesn't really have to. It does and it doesn't. Well, what you're doing, but as a Black woman, in general, the past few years we've had like the Me Too movement and things like that. And when it comes to business and being a Black woman in business, in entrepreneurship, did you find difficulties in navigating those waters?
As far as like working with men?
Yes.
Yeah, I hate working with men. I hate it. No shade, no offense. Don't be offended by that.
No, we're not.
But I have had, y'all know how men can be. It's just like, and I've always been the type of person, even as a single woman, I'm just so turned off by anything that's not genuine. So I don't want you to act like we're having a business meeting and then at the end of the meeting, you're making inappropriate comments, or you're, trying to, I had somebody, real life example. I had someone who was working for like the Steve Harvey Foundation, had invited me to come to the offices. He had this mentorship program for boys. He saw what I was doing with, I think it was the Single Wives Club at the time, made up this whole thing about how I was gonna be part of, this whole situation. And it ended up being him trying to talk to me. And I was just so upset that I had, gotten all dressed, put on all my little business suit, told all my friends I was going to the Steve Harvey, headquarters. And it's just like, bro, you just wasted my time. And that's just one example. Right. So not to say that, all men do things like that, but I don't want to be involved with that. Like, I just want to let's talk about business.
Right.
And we can really work together. And I do have like one really good friend that is, a man that I would say is like one of my, business besties, or somebody who I've kind of grown in entrepreneurship with, because he's never tried me. He's never said anything inappropriate. He's never made it anything other than business. And so that is probably a part of the reason why I am so all women all the time, because that's just kind of my comfort zone. I know that I don't have to, worry about anything going left. I know that I don't have to worry about any ulterior motives. Now that I'm engaged, I do feel like that kind of helps me a little bit, because as a single woman, it's just like you wide open. People just think,
right.
Single, really ready to mingle. And, that has not been the case. So yes, that is hard to navigate. And I don't really know. I don't have advice for how to navigate it, because I've just kind of tried to remove myself from that.
Got you. I was just curious because of how even like you promote your relationship and things like that. So I wanted to know if, I don't know, prior to that, things got weird, because I know exactly. I know how guys can get
weird. Yeah. Yep. Things get weird.
And it's not, and now it gets even more complicated, because it's not just guys. You know what I'm saying? The environment we live in is really, it could go either way. So it's something that we all have to be aware of. But the ones who can stay focused, and that's the problem with men, we looking to the left, we looking to the right. The ones who come in, and that's what I mean by integrity. The ones who show up with integrity, that integrity will manifest itself by let's get the work done. Because you can't be in these environments and it becomes really crazy. You trying to get work done and you trying to get something else done. Absolutely. Great points.
So before we end this interview, can you tell us any, without, you know, saying too much, but can you tell us about any future plans you have coming down the pipe? Because the WERK University, not-for-profit, all are, even the travel, things like all amazing. So I want to know, do you have anything else that you have coming down?
So, you know, I have a bun in the oven.
Yes,
And
congrats.
thank you. One of the things that and I know y'all have seen this on Instagram, how, you know, people always say like the way that you really got to set your kids up for success, you got to make them employees, you got to, you know, get them a business started. So my baby got some business plans that are in the works. We together have already written his first book. So that's kind of what I've been, one of the latest projects that I've been working on. I really have a heart for the babies. You know, they were the best part of my job as a teacher. So I'm excited to have a reason and I guess an excuse to kind of start creating some things for the kids. But that's going to be through my nonprofit. So really want to get more into the programming. 2020 kind of slowed me down because I couldn't plan events and host events like I typically would. So just doing more things specifically for the Black community, all the way, you know, from adults all the way down to the kids would be like the biggest thing. We're also doing our first virtual conference. I don't know when this interview is going to air, but in 2 weeks, it's November 30th through December 4th. We're doing Black Wealth Week, which is going to be 5 days of empowering conversations centered around Black wealth. So I'm just excited to do all that I can specifically for the Black community. And anybody that's mad about it, I'm not for you. I'm not for you.
Power to the people. Power to the people. You know how we feel over here about that.
Exactly. And if you have a WERK University for babies, Noble will be there.
Come on, baby Noble.
He will be there.
I love it. I love it.
So before we get about it, can you tell us where you can be reached? And we'll also have a link to everything in the description below. So
yeah, so I'm at Koereyelle on all social platforms. Koereyelle.com is where you can find me. If you are interested in learning more about WERK University, we are at the WERK University on Instagram, and my nonprofit is the Cure for the Culture on Instagram. And then the travel agent training and our travel agency is at Black Travel Network on Instagram.
And that is WERK as WERK.
Yep.
Okay.
So with that being said, thank you, Koereyelle, for joining us. This is great. We hope that everybody who watches, men and women, I mean, women and men, women go first, yeah. But got a lot out of this interview. We appreciate you for bringing this information. And on behalf of me and my pops, peace.
Peace. We love you, sis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.